At some point in life, almost every older adult has silently asked themselves, am I still strong? This question, often subtle, doesn't arise only from the years piling up on the calendar, but from messages we've heard since childhood, as if aging were synonymous with weakness, the end, or powerlessness. Society reinforces this notion constantly. Advertisements that glorify youth, news stories that link age to disease, and glances that treat the elderly as people who must be spared, never challenged. But what few realize is that this common doubt may be hiding a powerful truth. Many older adults are far stronger than they think. This strength doesn't have to show up as defined muscles or athletic stamina. It reveals itself mainly in the unnoticed daily gestures. The elderly woman who climbs the porch steps with grocery bags in hand, the man who wakes up early every day to tend his garden and still makes his own breakfast, the grandmother who holds her grandchild while sharing stories from a time only she remembers. These are simple but deeply meaningful acts. The problem is that, so used to associating strength with what is visible and grand, many fail to recognize these signs of vitality within themselves. In aging psychology, there's a powerful concept called functional self-perception. It refers to how older adults view their own ability to perform activities, and research shows that this perception is as important, if not more, than actual physical ability. In other words, an elderly person who believes they're weak will behave as if they are, even when their body still has plenty of energy. On the other hand, those who believe they can keep moving, exercising, and learning are much more likely to stay functional over time. The mind doesn't just follow the body, it leads it. This is the turning point. When doubt enters, it can infiltrate the routine and trigger a dangerous cycle. The person stops moving, stops trying, stops living, simply because they believe they can't do it anymore. This leads to real losses in mobility, confidence, and even mental health. But here's the good news: that cycle can be broken. And it all begins with awareness, understanding that if you're doubting your strength, it doesn't mean it's gone. It only means it's hidden beneath layers of beliefs, fears, and external messages. There are remarkable examples that prove this. In a study conducted by the National Institute on Aging, a group of adults over 80 was invited to perform simple physical tests, such as sitting and standing from a chair, walking a few meters, or holding moderately heavy objects. Most doubted they could do it, but at the end of the tests, more than 70% completed all the tasks successfully. Many cried, not from difficulty, but because they had rediscovered their own abilities. That's where the concept of functional strength comes in. Unlike athletic or aesthetic strength, it's about the ability to perform everyday tasks independently and safely. It doesn't matter if you can't lift 40 pounds at the gym. What matters is if you can bathe yourself, cook your meals, go out for a walk, or play with your grandchildren. Functional strength gives dignity, freedom, and hope, and it can be preserved or even regained after age 70, 80, or 90. Another crucial aspect is neuroplasticity. This might sound technical, but it's one of your greatest allies in aging well. Neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to adapt, form new connections, and grow stronger, even as we age. In other words, the brain remains trainable like a muscle, even in later decades of life. That means you can train your mind to recognize your strength, reinforce healthy habits, and even reverse the loss of confidence. Many seniors are surprised to discover that their daily walk, the habit of making their bed, the energy to chat with neighbors, or the ability to manage their medication routine are all signs of an inner strength that still burns brightly. And more than that, they are pillars that support healthy aging. Even when the body has limitations, which is natural, the fact that there is still movement, desire, and presence is in itself proof of vitality. So if you've ever doubted your strength, take a deep breath and look at yourself with more kindness. Remember how many times you've overcome pain, stood back up after a fall, cared for someone else, organized your home, made plans, or smiled on difficult days. That's all strength, and no test or number can ever truly measure the magnitude of that power. What's most incredible is that, in many cases, this rediscovery comes late. When a doctor is surprised by your test results, when a relative compliments your energy, or when you realize you're still able to do something you thought was impossible. But it doesn't have to be this way. You can recognize those signs, and not only when they catch you by surprise. It may seem like something simple, almost automatic, But the act of getting up from bed or a chair without external support is one of the greatest indicators of functional strength and independence in old age. We're not talking about acrobatics or athletic feats. We're talking about the foundation of autonomy, the very root of daily freedom. When an older adult can, on their own, move from a resting position to a standing one, they're demonstrating that their body still holds something essential: responsiveness, muscle balance, and neuromotor control. This gesture, often underestimated, involves a silent symphony of bodily systems working in harmony. The leg and abdominal muscles engage, the tendons in the hips and knees contract, the spinal cord sends commands, the brain calculates balance, and the eyes adjust to the new line of sight. All of this happens in seconds. It's one of the body's most complete and complex movements, and precisely for that reason, it becomes such a clear sign of vitality. Research from Harvard Medical School has shown that the simple ability to rise without support is directly associated with longevity and quality of life. One study, involving over 2,000 people over the age of 65, revealed that those who could get up from a chair without using their hands had a lower risk of falls, hospitalizations, and functional decline over the following 5 years. That's because the movement requires not just muscle strength, but coordination, agility, balance, and a well-functioning cardiovascular system. Another relevant point is the psychological and emotional impact of this ability. When an older person realizes they can still get up on their own, it reinforces their self-esteem and sense of control over their life. The opposite is also true. The first time someone needs help to stand up can bring feelings of fragility, dependency, and even depression. And often, that help isn't needed due to illness, but due to a lack of confidence, physical inactivity, or the habit of not moving. That's why physiotherapists and gerontologists treat the chair test as one of the most revealing ways to assess an older adult's overall health. The test is simple. Sit down and stand up from a chair with arms crossed over the chest 5 times in a row. Sounds easy? Know that this test is used worldwide as a hard predictor of frailty, fall risk, and even mortality. And if you can perform it safely, congratulations. Your body still holds an impressive reserve of strength and vitality. For many, the secret lies in maintaining the habit of getting up independently whenever possible. This trains not only the muscles but also the brain and balance system. Some older adults, upon noticing difficulty, start using taller or overly soft chairs that hinder the hip's ability to push off. Others prefer to ask for help out of fear of dizziness or falling, but with proper guidance and training, it's possible to regain and even improve this ability with specific exercises that strengthen the legs, glutes, and abdomen. This is where the importance of the so-called core comes in, the body's center of strength. The core isn't just the belly, as many believe. It's a group of deep muscles surrounding the abdomen, lower back, pelvis, and hips. The core gives the body stability, supports the spine, and allows you to rise with confidence. And the most surprising part, these muscles can be trained even with light exercises done at home, with no special equipment. A simple 10-minute daily routine can transform the way you move and the way you feel. Joint mobility also plays a fundamental role. When the hip and knee joints are well preserved, getting up becomes smoother. But when there's stiffness, pain, or inflammation, the body has to compensate with other muscle groups, which can cause imbalance and fatigue. That's why staying active is key. Gentle stretches, regular walks, and low-impact exercises like Pilates or water aerobics help keep the joints lubricated and functional. It's important to remember, aging doesn't necessarily mean loss of function. In most cases, what causes that loss is disuse. The body was made to move, and the more you move, the more it responds, with strength, flexibility, and resilience. Even those who've gone years without an active routine can start again and feel the benefits within weeks. There are countless stories of people over 80 who regained basic abilities like standing up alone after beginning adapted exercise routines. Another valuable detail, being able to get up alone is also linked to the prevention of falls, one of the leading causes of hospitalization and loss of independence among older adults. When the leg muscles are strong, the chances of tripping or slipping drop dramatically. And more. In case of a fall, those with functional strength are more likely to get up on their own, or at least crawl to safety, which can be crucial in an emergency. Many older adults doubt this ability because of fear of falling, of pain, of seeming weak, but most of those fears come from lack of information and lack of practice. That's why this video isn't just informative, it's an invitation to take action. Try getting up on your own today, calmly in a safe environment, perhaps with a sturdy chair behind you. Feel your muscles activating, your body responding, your mind focusing on the movement. That's when you realize the strength is there, inside you, even if it's been forgotten for a while. And the more you repeat it, the more it reappears. The body is like an old friend. It may take a while to respond, but it never forgets the way back. There's an inspiring story about Dona Nede, age 84, who lives in a small village in southern Brazil. After knee surgery, she spent months relying on her daughter to help her out of bed. One day, determined to regain her independence, she started doing simple exercises, sitting and standing up from bed several times a day. Within a few weeks, she was walking to the porch. 2 months later, she was back to making her own coffee every morning. It wasn't magic. It was persistence, movement, and the rediscovery of her own strength. If you can still get up from bed or a chair on your own, celebrate it. If you can't anymore, know that this isn't the end. It's a gentle message from your body saying, hey, there's still time. Let's get moving again. And if you already do this every day, maybe without even noticing, it's a sign that your body is still strong, still here, still fighting for you. Have you ever stopped to think how fascinating it is to remember a birthday without looking at a calendar? Or to recall, in vivid detail, the name of a neighbor you haven't seen in years, the face of a childhood teacher, or even the smell of your mother's cooking? This kind of memory, spontaneous, subtle, and natural, is one of the greatest signs that your mind is still sharp, even as the years go by. And that, my friend, is one of the clearest indicators that your body and mind are still in full harmony. At 70, 80, or even 90 years old, keeping an active memory is more than a privilege. It's a sign of brain health, of cognitive vitality, and of neural circuits still running strong. Many older adults underestimate this gift. They think that just because they forget where they left their glasses, they must be losing it, as people say. But that's a mistake. The truth is, occasional forgetfulness is perfectly normal at any stage of life. What really matters is the ability to remember meaningful facts, to stay oriented in time and space, to hold a coherent conversation, and, above all, to keep learning. And there's science behind it. Studies from Stanford University and Heidelberg University have confirmed that the brain continues to create new neural connections even after the age of 70, especially when stimulated through meaningful activities, reading, music, conversation, learning new skills, logic games, and even manual crafts. This process is known as adult neurogenesis, the brain's ability to regenerate and strengthen itself even in maturity. And what does that mean for you? That you still have the power to reshape your mind every single day. Memory isn't a block of stone that just wears down over time. It's more like a garden. It needs watering through good conversations, meaningful readings, vivid stories, and even peaceful silences. Older adults who tend to this garden, who challenge themselves to remember, who tell stories in detail, who get emotional when recalling the past, are engaging, without even knowing it, in a kind of brain workout that's just as powerful as physical training. It's this daily practice that keeps the mind alive, active, and connected to the present. What's more, remembering dates, names, and moments involves a specific type of memory, episodic memory. This is the part that stores life's moments, tied to emotions, visuals, and sensations. And in healthy individuals, it usually remains intact for a long time. If you can remember where you were when you met your spouse, or what dress you wore to your grandchild's baptism, that's not just nostalgia. It's a strong signal that your memory circuits are still firing. Another key point: good memory in older age is closely connected to physical activity. That's right. The body and mind do not function in isolation. Walking, dancing, light exercise, and even gardening increase brain oxygenation, promote neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin, and reduce the risk of neurodegenerative diseases. The brain is fueled by the body, and a body in motion is a gift to the mind. But perhaps the most powerful thing about memory is its ability to build identity. When you remember who you were, what you've lived through, the paths you've walked, you reinforce who you are. Older adults who connect with their own stories have higher self-esteem, a clearer sense of values, and greater emotional resilience. They know what they've overcome, what they've conquered, and what they still dream of experiencing. And that clarity, that sense of continuity, acts as a shield against meaninglessness and depression in later life. It's also worth noting the difference between normal aging and pathological cognitive decline. With normal aging, it's common to occasionally forget a word and then remember it later, or misplace something. But with dementia or other neurological conditions, memory loss affects daily routines significantly and persistently. If you're watching this video, following the ideas, reflecting and recalling your own life, then, rest assured, your mind is working with presence and power. There are also enjoyable and practical ways to keep your mind sharp. Try crossword puzzles, Sudoku, jigsaw puzzles. Write down your memories in a notebook. Tell stories to your grandchildren. Learn a new recipe. Listen to old songs and try to recall the lyrics. Even watching videos like this one, which promote reflection and self-awareness, is a way to exercise your brain. And don't forget the importance of sleep. One of memory's worst enemies is poor rest. During deep sleep, the brain consolidates the day's memories, clears toxins, and reorganizes itself. Sleeping well is like wiping a cloth across your mind. It wakes up clearer, lighter, more prepared to retain information. That's why a good night's sleep is one of the greatest allies for an older adult who wants to keep their mind young. So if you still remember important moments, recognize faces, enjoy learning, and feel joy when telling a story, then celebrate. Within you lives a brain that still pulses, responds, and feels deeply. A sharp mind is a clear sign of strength, and you carry that strength with you every day, even if you sometimes forget it. Imagine the following scene. You're at home, needing to change a light bulb or reach something on a shelf. You step up calmly, lean gently for support, and without even noticing, you hold your body on one foot for a few seconds. Seems ordinary, doesn't it? But what few people know is that this simple gesture hides one of the most important indicators of life force in older age: body balance. Standing upright, with steadiness and confidence, especially on just one leg, is powerful evidence that the body, even after decades of use, still responds with precision, control, and strength. In clinical practice and gerontology research, the ability to maintain balance is directly associated with deep muscle health, fine neurological function, and full sensory integration, especially vision, hearing, and proprioception, the body's ability to sense its position in space. This means that when you climb stairs, walk in a straight line, turn a corner, or stand on one foot to put on pants, various systems are communicating at once to keep your body stable. And if you can still do this, it's because there is strength and active health pulsing within you. Studies from the University of Tokyo and King's College London show that the simple 10-second one-leg balance test can be a powerful predictor of longevity. A recent study published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine revealed that people over the age of 70 who can stand on one foot for at least 10 seconds without support have a lower risk of death in the following years, even when other health factors are accounted for. A body that maintains balance is a body that remains alert, trained, and functional. And here's a detail many don't realize. Balance is a trainable skill. That means it doesn't fade away simply with age, but rather with disuse. If you spend most of your day sitting, moving very little, and avoiding uneven terrain, stairs, or sudden changes in position, your vestibular system, the balance center in your inner ear, begins to unlearn. But if you gently challenge that system through walking, stretching, dancing, or even yoga, it will respond even at 80, 90, or 100 years old. The muscles most responsible for balance aren't the large ones like the biceps or chest, but rather the stabilizing muscles, especially those in the hips, calves, abdomen, and lower back. These work together to keep the body upright and steady, even during minor imbalances. And here's the beauty of active aging. These muscles can still be strengthened through simple movements, like standing on one leg while brushing your teeth, walking slowly upstairs, following lines on the floor, or using a cushion to safely challenge your stability. Another fascinating aspect of balance is its relationship with confidence. Many older adults, even those physically capable, lose balance not because of weakness, but due to fear of falling. This fear causes muscle tension, increases heart rate, and interferes with coordination. It's what people call frozen with fear. When the body tenses up, movement loses fluidity and the risk of imbalance rises. But with proper guidance, supervised activities and progressive encouragement, this self-confidence can return, and with it, bodily stability. Real-life cases illustrate this well. Take Mr. Aloisio, age 79, who after a simple fall in the bathroom began walking hunched over, dragging his feet, afraid of losing balance again. With his family's support, he started a routine of light walks using a cane, physical therapy, and balance exercises 3 times a week. In just a few months, he was going up and down stairs again independently, and most importantly, safely and proudly. When asked what changed, he smiled and said, "I got my courage back, and with it, I got my body back." The connection between balance and mental health is also significant. People with preserved balance tend to have greater mobility, which supports social interaction, reduces isolation, and improves mood. In addition, confident movement boosts circulation, brain oxygenation, and even sleep quality. In short, staying steady on your feet is also a way of staying grounded in your emotions. It's worth remembering that balance protects against mud falls, one of the leading causes of hospitalization and loss of independence among older adults. A fall is not just a physical event. It can mark a turning point in someone's life, causing fear, inactivity, and even depression. That's why investing in balance is investing in freedom, dignity, and lasting health. If today you can climb steps without holding onto the wall, put on a sock without sitting down, dance without fear, or simply stand on one foot for a few seconds, celebrate. That's a sign that your muscles, your brain, and your sensory system are still working together in harmony. It means your body is still responding, that you're still in charge, even if sometimes you forget it. And if you feel like you've lost some of that balance, know that it can be regained. With simple exercises, consistent practice, and, most importantly, patience and persistence, you can restore your balance, both in body and in life. Have you ever walked out of a doctor's appointment with an unexpected smile on your face because your test results came back better than expected? That feeling of relief mixed with surprise, as if your own body had just proven it, still has breath, resilience, and a strong will to keep going. Know that this is more common than you might think among active older adults, and it's truly one of the clearest signs that your body is still strong, even if you sometimes doubt it. Modern longevity science teaches us that far beyond physical appearance or the age printed on your ID, what really matters are your internal health markers. Blood pressure, cholesterol, glucose levels, kidney filtration rate, lung capacity, bone density, liver function. All of these numbers tell silent stories about what's going on, inside and you. And the most surprising part, there's a growing number of people in their 70s, 80s, and even 90s whose test results are comparable to those of 40 or 50-year-olds. These impressive results don't appear out of nowhere. They're the accumulated reflection of daily decisions, well-maintained routines, and, above all, of a body that, despite the marks of time, still responds to the right stimuli. Modern medicine now recognizes that older adults who maintain a balanced diet, a minimum level of physical activity, good sleep, and strong social connections can preserve the health of their internal organs for decades beyond what was once thought possible. Take blood pressure, for example. It used to be commonly accepted that high blood pressure was inevitable in old age. Today, we know that's not a rule. Many seniors maintain normal or near normal in blood pressure without needing high doses of medication, simply by managing their weight, reducing salt intake, staying hydrated, and walking regularly. The same goes for blood sugar. Older adults who eat plenty of vegetables, whole grains, and lean proteins often achieve excellent results, defying negative expectations. Lab tests are like mirrors that don't lie, and they've been revealing something our elders have long suspected. Those who care for their body with kindness reap silent health. These older adults don't necessarily look like athletes or follow strict diets, but they are consistent. They don't smoke, they go to bed early, they avoid excesses, and they move daily as a way of life. And it's that consistency the body recognizes as love, and it responds with vitality. There's also a modern concept in medicine called Hachian biological age. which refers to the real age of your body based on internal health and function, and it can be much younger than your chronological age. In other words, you might be 80 on paper, but have a body functioning like that of someone who's 60. This isn't fantasy, it's the reality for thousands of people around the world who are defying time with a healthy lifestyle, active mind, and protective habits. So when doctors look at your tests and say, "For your age, this is excellent," don't take it as an empty compliment. Understand it as a concrete victory over the natural wear of time. It's proof that your body is being treated with respect, that your cells are responding well, that your organs still have reserve function, and most importantly, that there is far more health inside you than your outer appearance might reveal. Another important point is that many older adults have much fear of medical tests because they're afraid of what they might find. This fear, though understandable, often prevents early detection of conditions that could be easily managed. But the opposite is also true. Many seniors maintain a routine of regular testing, and when they see improvements in markers like cholesterol, triglycerides, or creatinine, they gain confidence, feel more motivated, and even change the way they see themselves. After all, seeing your test results improve makes you feel better and behave better too. It's also worth highlighting the importance of imaging exams and preventive screenings. Bone density scans, echocardiograms, colonoscopies, mammograms, abdominal ultrasounds. All these tests, when done under proper medical guidance, help detect changes before they become problems. And more often than expected, they bring back good news. Everything is stable, under control, preserved. And that too is strength. An inner, silent strength, but absolutely real. There are inspiring stories, like that of Donna Eulalia, age 87, who gets a full checkup every year. Recently, her tests showed perfect kidney function, balanced cholesterol and bone density above average for her age. When her doctor told her that her bones were hard like good building stone, she replied with a laugh, "Then I can still handle plenty of construction out there." That kind of result isn't magic. It's the result of 20 years of daily walks, drinking water faithfully, eating homemade food without too much fat, going to bed early, and waking with the birdsong. If you've recently had tests and the results were good, don't dismiss it. That's a clear sign that your body is still strong, even if you don't always feel it. And if your results weren't ideal, treat them as a compass, not a sentence. They point to a path that can be adjusted, not a final destination. The important thing to remember is that, at any age, it's always possible to improve a marker, balance a function, or lower a risk. The human body has a remarkable ability to regenerate. It just needs the right signals. Few people realize it, but there's a powerful strength hidden in the simplest actions of daily life. Carrying grocery bags, sweeping the floor, making the bed, cooking lunch, watering the plants, or simply walking a few blocks to the pharmacy, all of these, when done independently, represent something far greater than routine. They are concrete proof that the body is still functional, useful, and strong. For many, the idea of strength is tied to big achievements, lifting weights, running marathons, showing off defined muscles. But in the real world of healthy aging, the most important kind of strength is the one that allows us to live independently. Science calls this functional strength, and it's precisely the ability to carry out basic and instrumental activities of daily living without assistance. And the most impressive part? This strength is directly linked to quality of life, longevity, and the prevention of chronic diseases. Studies conducted by aging research centers in the United States, Japan, and Europe confirm that older adults who remain active in household tasks show better cardiovascular health markers, lower risk of cognitive decline, and eat more years of independent living. That's because these seemingly mundane tasks keep the body in motion, activate key muscles, improve balance, stimulate circulation, and engage the brain in sequences of planning, focus, and coordination. Let's take a closer look at carrying shopping bags. You leave the store, balance the weight between both arms, adjust your breathing, and walk home. It may not seem like it, but in this single act, your body is activating muscles in the arms, back, abdomen, legs, and even the neck. There's also coordination and endurance involved because you need to maintain steady effort throughout the walk. In other words, you're doing a real functional workout, no gym required. And what about walking? Whether it's going to the bakery, heading back from the bank, or strolling with your grandchild, Each step is an exercise in cardiorespiratory endurance. The simple ability to walk moderate distances without excessive fatigue is a sign that your heart, lungs, and muscles are still in sync and working efficiently. Many older adults walk 30 to 40 minutes at a time with ease, and may not even realize they're completing the equivalent of a doctor-recommended aerobic workout. Another fascinating aspect is the connection between household tasks and mental health. Keeping the house in order, doing the laundry, preparing meals, all of these offer a sense of control, purpose, and belonging. In a world that often associates aging with uselessness, the ability to take care of your home is a quiet affirmation of dignity, and that alone is already a form of strength. Take the example of Mr. Osmar, 82, a widower for 5 years. When his wife passed away, he had to learn how to take care of the house. At first, he did everything with difficulty, feeling unsure, but over time he began preparing his meals, washing his clothes, and tending the backyard garden. Today, he says these tasks give rhythm to my days. His checkups are all stable. Normal blood pressure, balanced glucose, and energy levels that surprise his doctor. When asked about his secret, he simply says, "I move every day." And that's exactly it. The body does age, but movement preserves it. And those who move at home, even through simple tasks, are keeping their bodies awake, active, and challenged. The strength used to stretch out a bedsheet is the same strength that protects your bones from osteoporosis. The strength used to push a mop across the floor is what builds your lower back. The endurance required to cook lunch is the same that gives you breath to climb stairs. Even more, these activities strengthen something essential: grip strength, the strength of the hands and fingers. Today, grip strength is considered one of the main health indicators in older age. Doctors around the world are measuring hand grip as a predictor of heart disease, frailty, and even mortality. And guess what? Tasks like wringing a cloth, opening jars, carrying items, or sweeping the floor help maintain hand strength naturally and consistently. Of course, not everyone can or should do every task alone. It's important to recognize limits and ask for help when needed. But the central point is this: if you're still doing even occasionally these small but meaningful daily actions, then yes, your body is still strong. It's moving, it's functional, it's serving your life, your rhythm, and your desires. Even if you need breaks, even if you do things in steps, even if your pace has slowed down, if you can, even with effort, handle the basics of your routine, know this: you are a strong person. Not because you lift weights, but because you lift yourself up every single day. There is a kind of strength that can't be measured by muscles or seen in a blood test. It appears in a gentle gesture, a spontaneous smile, the willingness to answer the phone, laugh with a loved one, or make plans for next week, or even for next year. When an older adult still feels like talking, laughing, and imagining tomorrow, it reveals something immense. The heart is still beating with hope, and the mind is still moving with purpose. This energy doesn't appear by chance. It's the reflection of an active inner life, of a body that still finds motivation to connect with the world. Many people believe aging is synonymous with isolation, silence, and giving up. But that's an outdated myth. Modern science, supported by the stories of thousands of older adults around the world, shows the opposite. Human connection, good humor, and a sense of purpose are renewable sources of vitality. Keeping them alive is indeed a clear sign of strength. In numerous international longevity studies, one factor consistently appears among the most decisive for those who thrive well into their 80s and 90s: social engagement. People who maintain bonds with friends, neighbors, family, and even their communities have lower risks of depression, heart disease, cognitive decline, and functional loss. That's because emotional exchange, laughing, storytelling, listening, and being heard, nourishes the brain and body with powerful substances like endorphins, dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin. These neurotransmitters are true natural medicines. They reduce stress, relieve pain, improve sleep, strengthen the immune system, and enhance overall well-being. And the most beautiful part, they don't require a prescription. They're triggered by a good chat, shared laughter, planning an outing, messaging a grandchild, or even a friendly conversation with the local baker. And if you still feel that energy, if you still light up when someone drops by, if you make it a point to call an old friend, if you still dream of a trip, a reunion, or a future celebration, then know this: your body is full of life. Because that emotional energy, that urge to connect and plan, doesn't exist in a body that's tired or weak. It's fuel for the soul, but also a reflection of a healthy brain, a strong heart, and an organism that still wants to live, and live well. It's not uncommon to find older adults who, despite some physical limitations, maintain a more active schedule than many young people. They participate in discussion groups, book clubs, church gatherings, or community center activities. Some learn new technologies to video chat with distant relatives. Others write letters, publish poems, care for pets, join WhatsApp groups, or grow shared gardens. What do they all have in common? They haven't stopped dreaming. And dreaming is one of the clearest signs that inner strength still sustains life. There's also a direct link between humor and longevity. A study from Harvard School of Public Health found that people with a positive outlook, a sense of humor, and a cheerful attitude toward life live, on average, over 7 years longer than their more pessimistic peers. That doesn't mean ignoring hardships. It means having the mental and emotional energy to face them with lightness, creativity, and resilience. Take the example of Donna Clusser, 91. Every morning, she turns on the radio, sings along to old songs while making coffee, and never misses a chance to send a cheerful good morning in the family group chat. On Wednesdays, she attends a prayer group and shares recipes with her neighbors. Once a month, she hosts a backyard storytelling circle about her youth. When asked about her secret, she smiles and says, "I love people, and as long as there are people around, I have a reason to wake up." That ability to find joy in the small things, to hold on to faith in the everyday, to look forward to a visit, a phone call, or a new event, is proof that the body is still energized by the strength of spirit. And that, more than any lab result, is a powerful indicator of whole person health. It's important to remember, healthy aging isn't just about a body that moves, but also about a mind that imagines and a heart that feels. When there's a desire to share, to listen, to exchange, to smile, there's fertile ground where health blooms every day. If you still feel like talking, laughing, and making plans, celebrate it. That's a rare and precious kind of energy. And even if some days are tough, even if loneliness or fatigue set in, every time that desire returns, it's life showing up again inside you, reminding you there's still so much to live for. In the next and final sign, we'll explore something even deeper: the ability to keep learning, to reinvent oneself, to stay curious even after decades of living. Because maybe in the end, the most surprising strength is the one that keeps saying day after day, "I still want to understand the world." There is something profoundly moving about meeting someone in their 70s, 80s, or 90s who is still enchanted by the new. Someone who asks questions, wants to understand how things work, tries something for the first time, reads attentively, listens with interest, and learns with humility. When an older person expresses curiosity, it's one of the noblest signs that life still pulses intensely within them. Because the desire to learn and the act of dreaming is what keeps the soul young, even when the body carries the marks of time. Curiosity is an invisible driving force. It moves the eyes, sharpens the ears, activates the brain. It leads to reading a new book, trying out a modern smartphone, learning the name of a plant, understanding how the internet works, trying a new recipe, or signing up for a craft class. It may seem simple, but behind every act of curiosity is a vibrant neurological system, a brain that hasn't given up on growing. Science explains this through a fascinating concept: neuroplasticity. The human brain, even in old age, can form new synaptic connections, reorganize circuits, strengthen cognitive skills, and even compensate for natural losses through alternative pathways. In practical terms, this means that older adults can indeed learn new things, develop skills, regain memory, sharpen reasoning, and improve focus and clarity, as long as they're properly stimulated. A study from the University of California showed that people over 75 who regularly took part in educational activities had better cognitive test results, a lower risk of dementia, and a higher quality of life. Activities such as reading, writing, learning new languages, taking computer classes, studying history, participating in debates, or even playing games like chess or Sudoku activate brain areas linked to attention, language, memory, and creativity. And more than that, These activities improve mood, boost self-esteem, and reduce the feeling of uselessness so common in later life. The simple act of keeping a journal, jotting down ideas, writing letters, or planning projects is a workout that strengthens the mind and warms the heart. When you think about the future, even if it's just tomorrow, and imagine something new, you're telling your body, I still have plans. And plans, dreams, ideas, and goals may be the greatest declarations of strength a human being can make. Take the case of Mr. Benedito, age 88. A widower and former teacher, he spent years believing his contribution to the world was over. One day, he received a modern smartphone from his grandson and with patience learned how to use WhatsApp. Soon he was writing thoughtful messages to the family group. Not long after, with help from his granddaughter, he started a blog to share his memories. Today he has thousands of readers. His posts, full of wisdom, touch both young and old. When asked how he feels, he says, "It's like I've learned how to live all over again." And to me, that's strength. When an older person feels the desire to learn, what they're really saying is, it's still worth it. And that alone is a daily miracle. Because it's much easier to give up, to settle, to accept boredom. Staying curious requires energy, movement, humility, patience, and above all, an inner flame that hasn't gone out. And that flame, that spark in the eyes of someone who still wants to know more, is one of the greatest indicators of overall health. Another key point is that curiosity protects against emotional isolation and early mental decline. When you're open to the new, you connect with different generations, with diverse topics, with ideas that challenge your own. You get out of your own space, even without leaving home. And that is health, because the more connections you make with people, books, experiences, the more you activate parts of the brain that fight memory loss, depression, and fear. The strength of someone who learns lies in their courage to be a beginner, even after a lifetime of experience. It's in the act of asking questions without shame, laughing at one's mistakes, trying again. It's in the older person who picks up a paintbrush for the first time, the man who learns how to use an ATM, the woman who signs up for an online course, the grandfather who tries to follow his granddaughter's dance steps. These are acts of greatness and of strength. And if you still feel the urge to learn, if you still dream of traveling, discovering, understanding things better, then your body is more alive than you think. Because dreaming is not a privilege of the young, it's a right of being. And as long as you have a dream inside you, there is a vital force that keeps your heart beating with purpose. Aging with curiosity is an act of resistance against forgetting. It's telling time, I'm still here, I still want to know more. And those who still want to know more keep growing, even after 80, 90, or 100, and strength. A word so often used, so admired, so sought after. We spend our entire lives hearing about it. They tell us strength is about enduring, resisting, never falling. But over time, and especially in older age, we begin to realize that true strength doesn't live in the arms or legs. It lives in the invisible, in the silent gesture of someone who chooses to keep going every day, despite the weight of the years, the losses endured, and the limitations that appear. True strength, in the end, is continuing to move when the world expects you to stop. Movement and purpose. These are the two pillars upon which full longevity is built. It doesn't matter how old you are. What truly matters is whether you still move physically, emotionally, spiritually, and whether within you there's still a reason, still a desire, still a spark that gets you out of bed each morning. Because there is no greater strength than the one that is born from purpose. Throughout this video, we've walked together through the quiet yet powerful signs that your body is still strong. We saw that standing up alone, keeping your mind sharp, staying balanced, receiving good test results, doing daily tasks, laughing freely, and dreaming about the future are all, without a doubt, legitimate signs of strength. But now, at the end of this journey, we must go deeper. What if the most important strength isn't found in any of those things, but in your ability to keep living with meaning? Studies from longevity research centers around the world show that people who live longer and better are those who maintain a clear sense of purpose. That purpose can come from many places: caring for someone, keeping a routine, tending a garden, practicing faith, writing in a journal, supporting a cause, protecting a pet, teaching something, learning something, or simply living to see the sunset each day. Purpose doesn't need to be grand, but it needs to be real. It needs to make your heart beat with meaning. Strength is not about never getting sick. It's about getting back up after illness. Not about never feeling pain, but about smiling in spite of it. Not about never feeling tired, but about resting wisely and returning, even slowly. The strength of an older person who keeps walking, who greets a stranger, who embraces a grandchild, who holds their cane with dignity and looks in the mirror with acceptance. That is a strength the whole world should stand and applaud. And if no one has told you this lately, let this video be the one to say it. You are stronger than you think, because as long as there is a desire within you to rise, to contribute, to smile, to care for yourself, to dream, there is more strength in your body and your soul than in any young person who has yet to learn the value of time. Behind the scenes of aging, there's a silent dance between loss and gain. Yes, you lost speed. You may have lost some hearing, some vision, some flexibility. You've lost loved ones. You've lost certain certainties, but you also gained. You gained inner time. You gained calm. You gained stories. You gained wisdom. You gained the awareness of what truly matters. And that no one can take from you. That is strength. That is pure gold. So when someone looks at you with pity, impatience, or disregard, take a deep breath. Remember everything you've seen, felt, and overcome. And know that behind every wrinkle lies a path that proves every single day that the true strength doesn't make noise. It makes meaning. And now that you know the +7 signs, that your body is still strong, maybe stronger than you realized, what will you do with that discovery? Will you hide? Will you doubt again? Or will you stand up, take a deep breath, and say to yourself, I'm still here, and I can still do so much? Yasinaya, comment below. Which of the 7 signs resonated with you the most? Your story might inspire someone else to recognize their own strength. And if you want to receive more videos like this one, just like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. We're in this journey together. Every week we're here to remind you, aging is not weakening, it's evolving with grace, wisdom, and purpose.